Hi and welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is Matt, and one of the things we do on this channel is share our experiences in renting out 2 RVs. And in this video I'm going to show you the steps we take to get our rigs ready for the season. And yeah, even though it's April 14th, we are in Minnesota. It's not uncommon to get snow this time of year, but the RV season gets going in May, and that's right around the corner, so we need to get these ready. And we're doing something a little different this year. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but we're getting down to 1 RV. We're actually going to keep the big one, the Grand Design, for personal use and rentals, but we're going to sell this Mallard. But the steps to get them ready should be pretty similar. But the first thing I need to do is do some shuffling. We're taking the Grand Design in for a recall at the dealership tomorrow morning. Talk more about that in a little bit. But we need to get that up to the front of the house, and first thing we need to do is move the Mallard because that's actually in the way. And on a side note, I know these covers look kind of loose and goofy right now. I actually had taken the straps off to get inside to check for rodents and whatnot. They're usually a little bit tighter than this, but regardless, let's get these things moved around. All right, it should go without saying that tires has to be one of the first things we check. These are Goodyear Endurance tires, and when I put this away, 4 or 5 months ago, they were at 65 PSI. Let's see what they're at now. All right, 55.9, lost about 10 PSI over the winter. These digital tire pressure gauges are actually pretty handy. As far as battery prep goes, I store the battery in the basement on a battery tender. And then to get ready for the season, I like to clean off the terminals. You can use steel wool, a wire brush, or a specialty tool for that. Then I'll just give the battery a good wipe down, get it all nice and clean, and then make sure the water levels are topped off. These battery filler jugs work really good for that. Just remember, you have to use distilled water. Now we're going to go up and do a roof inspection. Very carefully because it's wet. So I'm going to be looking at all the sealant up here around the vents and, like the ladder and all the edges. And I'm looking for any new pinholes, any separation. Perhaps we missed a scratch from a tree branch, something like that. And I'll obviously look at the roof membrane too to make sure it's 100% intact. So here's some area where I might put new sealant on. Kind of got this little hole here, and then right up here at the edge here, I don't know if you can quite tell, there's a little spot where there's some separation. Not huge, but might as well put some new stuff in there. Things like this might go ahead and fill in. Otherwise, I'll just go ahead and just check every surface. All right, we'll do a general overview before I spend some time and look at every surface of the roof here. But overall it looks pretty good. There's things like this. We had a really small nick that we did a temporary patch with some Gorilla Tape. I'll replace that with some Eternabond. Like I said, it looks pretty good. Things like this, that actually looks like a scratch. That's extra lap sealant from the factory. There might be a couple little things that we have to do, but overall things still look pretty good. Little side note for you 2400, 2800 BH owners. This ladder, this bottom part is supposed to be a step. I would not recommend stepping on that. Ours isn't too bad, it has a little bend to it, but I've talked to other people, owners, who have had that bottom part break. So, you know, use the bumper and step right up to that second step. Okay, we just wrapped things up at the dealership here for one of two recalls. The first recall is actually pretty easy. They just put in a new propane regulator. I guess a lot of companies are using the same regulator that was having problems or potential problems. We never had any issues with it. Recall number two is kind of a weird one. They are replacing all the door handles and cabinet handles. I guess the old ones were too sharp. They could potentially cause injury. So they're not doing them today because they actually had to count how many we needed and then order them, because apparently for the new ones they got to drill some holes and then cover up the old holes. I originally said, just, you know, why don't you just mail me out the handles, I'll put them in myself, but I guess it's not the simple job that it seems. Okay, so now that we got the important recall done, we're going to take this home and finish getting her ready. All right, now we're gonna bleach and sanitize the water system. I'm not gonna do a whole step-by-step how-to on that, other than to say basically we're gonna drain the antifreeze and then run a bleach solution through the system. The mixture for that solution is a 1/4 cup of bleach and a gallon of water. That should cover 15 gallons. The Imagine has a 45-gallon water tank, so basically we're tripling that solution. And I'm going to use this portable jug here. It's kind of nice. It has a spout that fits into the potable inlet, and then it's also nice to sanitize a portable jug too. All right, so we're going to go throw that solution into the tank here and then run it through the system. Okay, now we'll go inside and we'll do an interior inspection. And I'm looking for two things here. Number one would be any indication that water got inside the camper, but I'm also looking for signs that rodents got in here. Now, we've been doing two things for rodent control, and we've been doing this since 2009 with our first pop-up, and I've never had any problems with mice or anything. Basically, I take a couple bars of Irish Spring soap and cut it up and then put it in random places throughout the camper. We also use a couple dryer sheets too mixed in. Doing that, like I said, never had any problems. So, you know, for inspecting for water damage, you know, I try to get into like every little nook and cranny that I can. You know, I'm looking up at the seams, that kind of thing. And you know, it's a pretty new camper and we have never had any problems so far. So I'd be surprised to see anything. And, you know, we did a roof inspection, that looked good. But still, good idea to kind of go through and check it out. And for the rodents too, I try to look at every little nook and cranny, any place that mice could get in or make a nest, that kind of thing. Couple of other things I'm going to do on the inside. I took off all these screens that go on the skylights, going to give them a good cleaning. There's a couple of filters in the AC unit. I'll take those out, clean them up, and then, you know, CO detector, fire alarms, test those, put in new batteries, that kind of thing. Then we're gonna go and test all the systems. So we already did the water pump. We'll test out the water heater. First, we'll try it on gas, and then we'll do it on electric, making sure that's working good. You know, we already checked the slide out seals. We'll put some sealant on those. You know, check, make sure the fridge is working, make sure we got hot water. I'll even go through here and make sure all the burners are working fine, and the oven too. Also the outside kitchen, make sure that's working. So the oven on these can be really finicky to light. We get a lot of renters that call and ask what the problem is. I've learned that it works best if you actually turn on the top burners first, and then, you know, use the knob here and hold it in for like a good 4 or 5 seconds before you hit the auto light. That seems to work consistently if you follow those steps. I'll even test out all the electronics, make sure the TV, radio is working. Probably a good time too to put new batteries in all the remotes. And this is actually a good time too to remind yourself how the whole AV system works. I think our number one question we get from renters on the road is how to play DVD or sync their phones, that kind of thing. And the first time this camper is getting used this year is actually via a renter. So we won't have a chance to get out and reacclimate ourselves to how everything works. So testing this out, and yeah, it's looking good. As far as interior upgrades and improvements for this year, we are upgrading our mattress. That's the factory one there. We'll show you our new one in a future video. And we just ordered new foam for these seat cushions. These seem like they were okay for the first year, but we noticed last summer they started to get kind of uncomfortable. So we ordered some new foam inserts, and in an upcoming video I'll show you how we replaced that. Okay, that should do it for the interior. We'll go ahead and tidy things up, give it a good deep clean, do the floors, take a look to make sure we're fully stocked. And then we should be good to go for our first rental, which is coming up here the first weekend in May. And then once it gets back from that, I'll get back into our Is It Worth It series, our monthly updates, and talk about the pros and cons of this whole rental thing. And then we'll talk about our income too, how that's working out, especially now that we're getting down to one trailer. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.